Here we are, and thank you for joining us. It is officially Thrive Thursday. I'm Laura Brandao, the president of AFR, and today we have three guests who are going to share with us how they have adapted to our new world and are now thriving. From Denver, Colorado, we have Corrisa DeRose. She is the founder and CEO of DeYoung Consulting Group. From Phoenix, Arizona, we have Leroy Romero. He is a loan officer at Nexa Mortgage. And from Dallas, Texas, we have Sam Ruben, and she is a real estate consultant. Okay, over the last few months, we know that it has certainly brought lots of change and adaptation. And none of us are the same as when we started. So, what I want to ask each of you is what have you learned from this change? And how has that change helped you to start thriving? Carissa, start us off.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think when all this started, I was pretty much in denial in the early stages. I remember being on a plane on my way to the structured finance conference in Vegas back in mid-February. And I had a layover in LA, which was kind of one of the early hotspots. And I noticed as I was boarding that there was a lot of people wearing masks, which was a really, that was an abnormal sight at the time in the United States. And it struck me, but it was kind of my first indication of what was really coming. But I went on to the conference and everything was pretty business as usual there. And so, I kind of went back to work and kept traveling and doing the things I was doing. And fast forward a couple weeks, and there was another conference out in Beaver Creek the first weekend in March. And that was just before things got very, very real. And I think we knew that things were getting serious, but we hadn't had an official case in Colorado yet. There were many other states that didn't have cases. So the conference still felt business as usual. Maybe a little more caution, but still lots of handshakes and hugs all around. Yeah. So I don't think it had really sunk in yet what we were dealing with. And that was my last bit of normalcy. And on the drive home from that visit, I was getting a crazy text blast, like an Amber Alert that comes from the government with the sirens and everything, saying that anyone who'd been in Eagle County needed to quarantine for 14 days. And in that same drive, I mean, I think they canceled the basketball season in that same 2-hour drive. I mean, that day is just the day that everything changed. I think 2 days later, schools were canceled, but everything was moving very, very quickly at that point. And I think everyone I know was forced to work from home by that following Monday. We, like everyone else, we canceled our spring break trip and, we just started to transition. Transitioning to work from home was kind of a non-issue for me. I've worked from home at least partially for the last 10 years or so, and my team is spread throughout the country. So we're used to this. What was new, I think, was the level of distraction and the multitasking requirements that went along with this. Sharing an office space with my husband and trying to balance a second grader in homeschool, having every necessity delivered to the house so that we didn't have to go out, which seemed to lead to an endless cycle of ringing doorbells and barking dogs. So, I mean, I think that was the biggest change. I've always been very disciplined with my work from home arrangements, and I always made sure that I had zero distractions and had a caretaker to manage kids and dogs so that I was never disturbed. And I would have been absolutely mortified if a dog barked while I was on a conference call. But obviously all that went out the window when everything shut down, and, we just turned to blocking and tackling.
So what did you actually learn as you adapted and as you changed? What did you learn from these changes that were happening to where now going forward, you're going to continue to do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest thing is a really escalated level of multitasking.
Yeah.
And other than that, I can't say that there's anything new that I learned, but I think what I did do is I tapped into a lot of the crisis management skills that I gained in 2008 and 2009. Just dealing with constant chaos and massive amounts of uncertainty, pivoting on large scale strategic projects to adjust to the uncertainty or to what we were thinking the new normal might be. But to me, it felt a lot like 2008 and 2009. Obviously not centered around the mortgage industry this time, but still very much a crisis to manage.
Yeah.
And I think, if there's anyone that was well prepared for 2020, it's the mortgage industry. So
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. And it was so different. You are correct that the crisis management and the uncertainty piece of it was very similar, but yet all of a sudden the mortgage industry was leading the economy and actually being the glimmer of hope out there versus being the cause, right? So it was
exactly.
totally the opposite, which was interesting for all of us. So absolutely. Okay. All right, Leroy, tell us, throughout all this change, what changed for you? How did you adapt? And what did you learn through this that you're kind of like, you know what? I'm better now because of this, and I'm going to keep doing it.
I love this question. So, having a team and being in multiple different states, we learned to adapt just super quick. And so the one thing that was been just awesome for probably the previous 3 years is we'd already gone to a virtual type platform, and the company I work with, that's kind of how they rolled out their platform. So we really didn't see much of a change for the way we, dialogue with veterans and consumers. So we felt like pretty blessed to be already set up in that way. I think the biggest thing
Can I ask a question? Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm getting feedback. I'm actually curious. You said that you were already working virtually with the veterans. So I actually am curious, how do you do that? Regardless of if it was a change or not, I'm just curious, how do you guys do that?
It's just like a Zoom call. So, the mortgage process, and obviously the mortgage professionals, the real estate professionals here, the real estate industry, it's very hands-on, walk through the home. And before it was really hey, how do you meet me at my office and go over disclosures and those types of things. So with Zoom being an awesome platform, it's just setting a calendar appointment and meeting with them face-to-face so then they understand who they're talking with, going through disclosures online, doing those types of things. And so we've kind of had that advantage per se for the last couple of years for the way that we dialogue. As veterans come in and out of each state, they have that flexibility, or if they're in, say Germany and they can do a Zoom,
Right.
it makes it so much easier that way. It's not like we have to show the house, right? We just got to talk about numbers and budget and what our game plan is with rates and things like that. So that's kind of how we've just done it. And I hope that helped.
That's wonderful. And I'm happy that you're sharing that, because you're right, especially when you're working with veterans that are, all over the place, right? They could be out of the country. They're not necessarily here, and they could be purchasing their home in the US. So I'm really happy that you explained that, because that is something that I would have thought. I hear a lot of times loan officers now saying we're taking advantage of doing it virtually, but I actually didn't hear a lot of people saying they were doing it prior. So that's wonderful that you guys were already ahead of that curve and you were already comfortable with doing that. And I would anticipate that is very comforting to the veterans to be able to do that wherever they're located.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you get to the face-to-face, right, in the mortgage industry or coaching programs or platforms out there, it's always face-to-face type of appointments, meeting with agents like Sam, like it's face-to-face. And so it's no longer, hey, let's do some coffee. It's, hey, let's do a happy hour, or hey, let's just chat so you know who you're dealing with. And that makes a huge difference from perspective of client trust too. So yeah, we were doing it at a pretty cool level. And so it helped us thrive to this next step of our business. And so pretty thankful for that. What I learned, I think the biggest thing I learned from this is, as building a team, I think the most important thing is just to kind of stay the calm through the storm that we're going, and we're still going through it. So, and just the amount of appreciation that you have to express it and love on with your team, because without that, I mean, we were already set and hired for the volume that changed in that difference, and we lost a couple of team members in that through that chaotic moment. It's hit the families of America and all over the world. But so a lot of grace came with that, to just really step back, assess the situation, and say, hey, how do we come to a solution in this? And then how do we also have some grace? Because, working from a 9 to 5 isn't really the reality anymore. You can have boundaries, but, it's pretty easy just to, throw on a t-shirt and hop over to your computer and knock out another deal. And we see that a lot. And so we try to provide grace. I think that's the biggest thing, is it's really calmed the anxiety piece of the business down for me, and to really relax, set boundaries. And then it's also been a blessing in a way to actually be around the kids a little bit more, although, with them not back in school yet and being virtual from home, it's been interesting, but now I just get to hang out with my kiddos when I take a break.
And that's awesome. And that's wonderful. And we've heard a lot that parents have said, this time, regardless of whether there's a little stress in there, coupled with some of the memories, those are memories.
Yeah.
Even the stress part, even the homeschooling, even the kids not being able to necessarily do some extracurricular activities or things like that. Every day you guys are making memories with your kids every single day. And I'm sure, that's a very special time that you, like you said, when you take a break, you can go and see your kids, and you wouldn't have normally been like that. And I appreciate you also saying about having some grace, because I think you're right. I think all of us are hardwired in the mortgage industry to go, 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 go. It's always, the next. And, to piggyback off what Corrisa was saying, and I had mentioned it just before we went live, I said, oh, my dog is barking. And I said, if that was me before all of this and I was doing so, I would have been stressed about that. I don't even know why I would be stressed about that. Does it really matter? Does it matter? But we were stressed about things like that. And now we realize, so what? Okay, I have a dog. Okay, there's a child. Okay, yes, that's life. That's the way it is. So I love that you've also recognized to also have some grace and realize that, yeah, everybody on the team, they have had to adapt and morph and change, and you have to cut people a little bit of a break. So absolutely. Way to go. All right, Sam. You're a whole nother perspective. You're on the real estate side. So tell us, what did you learn through all of this change that is currently having you thrive?
Well, the good thing about me is one thing that I will say about the military, it does teach you some great skills, right? All types of skills to be able to manage certain things that come your way unexpectedly. So when COVID hit, of course, we weren't originally in certain counties in Dallas considered essential. And that kind of affected some of us because we were like, what do we do? If we go out, we get fined. If we don't go out, then our buyer might find somebody else that's willing to go show a house for them. And then I think it didn't really hit us until I started actually going back out and seeing, like, we used to be able to walk into our builder offices, just open the door and bam, show the house. And now it's like, you got to knock on the door. You got to do a phone call. Meeting with our buyers and or sellers in person became all online. I had already been doing online buyer consultations due to some of my clients coming from overseas or other states and stuff like that. So that was normal, but actually having to do seller consultations and, having them take you through the house and show you, what the house looks like and all that good stuff to be able to run your market analysis. We thought that real estate was just going to come to a halt, similar to some of the other states, but Texas surprised us. It kept going. Even when we were shut down, maybe I think a couple of weeks, if that, from like doing traditional business. But once they said, okay, real estate is essential, and rates started coming out and dropping, everybody just jumped on a bandwagon. It was like, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a house. And we were like, oh, wait, we thought we were going to slow down. And we picked up
Hey Sam,
tremendously.
I'm curious, okay? Only because I don't get a lot of realtors, so I'm curious. Okay, so we knew the rates went down, right?
Mhm.
But what was the main reason why all of a sudden people wanted to buy a house? Was it because the rates went down, or was it like I need space, or I need more room, or I need a backyard, or what were the reasons why? Because it seems like this frenzy happened all over the country. So what were you hearing?
So it was rates all day long.
Ah,
I do a lot of down payment assistance programs and also VA clients.
yeah.
Our VA rates, amazing. And then our other rates, they're great, but our VA rates are, awesome. And our down payment assistance programs, we were putting people in houses with, and of course, these rates are not high for some people who owned homes back in 77 or 89 and had them 13, 20% interest rates. But at that time, not even a year ago, we were sitting at 6% for down
Yeah.
payment assistance programs. And that was good, right? For you to get free money to get into a house. But now we're at 3.75
Wow.
for down payment assistance to get into a house, no money down. Crazy. And our sales prices here in the Metroplex are pretty high. So with the rates dropping, it allowed people to actually qualify for some areas that they wouldn't have qualified before. So that rates is number one because it wasn't prices. Our prices ain't going nowhere no time soon, right? They're going up thanks to lumber, okay? And all these other factors thanks to COVID-19. But the rates all day long is one of the
great. Just give them more ability, like to purchase more, right? They were able to qualify for more. Oh, that's awesome. Great. Okay, great. All right, so keep going. So now people are buying, you're showing all that. Keep going.
Yes. So we're showing houses. And one thing that happened was I did take my kids. I have twins that are 5 and a 3-year-old.
Oh.
And mommy's patience is not very good.
Come on, the military didn't prepare you for twin 5-year-olds and a 3-year-old.
Well, they taught us patience, and we have a saying, hurry up and wait, but not for kids, right? That's a totally different kind of patience that you have to have. So that hurry up and wait, I can do it in the military, but when it comes to kids, I'm like, oh, no, where your daddy at? So I took them out immediately because they were in daycare at that time, and I took them out because I was like, I don't know what this is. And then one of my daughters, she has a medical condition. I didn't want it to affect that, and then we have issues with that. So I was like, let me take them out, see what happens, and then go from there. So with me doing that, here comes the adaptation, right? Yeah. I had already taken my kids out previously throughout the last, 5 years, showing houses and stuff like that. So they've been with me on a few different showings and stuff like that. So they understand what mommy does. However, when they were taken out of school, I was like, what do I do? Because I don't want to take them out in this situation, and then they contract something and then it's mommy's fault. So what I did was I had to leverage my family who, I'm sure they probably were like, ma'am, no. But because they love me so much, they decided to go ahead and share my responsibility, right? And, I'm like, hey, I got a showing. Can you watch them? They weren't doing anything, working from home. Thanks to, their job. My sister owns her own business. That's a major plus. And then my 12-year-old nephew, he also was a part of it too. So I was able to hire them to help me with the kids so that I could continue my business. So I had to adapt to that, hiring other family members.
How did that go?
It went good for me, but for my family, they were like, when is school starting again? Because it's 3 kids and they are full of energy.
Of course.
Yeah. So.
Well, at that age, listen, they're a ball of fire. They're that's wonderful. That's awesome. Okay, so you adapted to this change, and I'm assuming business is still crazy thriving, right? I'm assuming you're very, very busy, right?
Yes, we are. Definitely busy. I think last month was probably one of my best months in my almost 6 years of being in the business. And moving forward, it's looking great as well. But yes, definitely still going. We're showing with masks. We're showing with gloves, booties. appointment only with some of the builders. You can't just walk in. So yeah, so nothing's gotten back to the normal yet, but we're adapting to the new rules.
Well, listen, we see the homes selling very quickly. Well, obviously the mortgages are, everybody is out there and about. So thank goodness we get to thrive through all of this. So that's wonderful. Okay, love it. All right, Corrisa. So now we've been pushed out of our comfort zones, where we're adapting to all of this, and it's taking us some time to kind of learn some things about ourselves, right? So now we were speaking about, guys, for everybody out there, we've been having conversations about crazy weather. Corrisa told us a few days ago, she had a snowstorm in Denver. It's only September, the beginning of September, and they already have snow. We've all been pushed into these new levels of comfort zone, and we've learned some things about ourselves that maybe we didn't recognize before, or I'm sure it was always there, but we never really zoned in on it. So my next question for everyone, and we'll start with Corrisa, is when I asked this question, I really wanted you guys to think about it. What is your personal superpower?
Well, I think aside from, again, an escalated ability to multitask now, I'm a lot less uptight than I used to be. And I've become a lot more laid back in my work interactions. I've really seen a positive shift since all of this started, and with everyone home, it seemed like most of the people that I interacted with were dealing with the same issues and distractions that I was. And you said it, dogs were barking on every call, and everything was just a lot less sanitized. Everyone's in t-shirts and working from kitchens and bedrooms, and dogs are bombing Zoom calls all the time. And, it just seems like we're operating in a much more genuine way. And any kind of facades or pretenses that used to exist are gone. And I suspect that's probably kind of a permanent shift. And
that was going to be my question. My question was actually going to be, do you think it'll last if this part of it changed?
I do. And not entirely. I mean, I come from the capital market side of things, and, there are definitely areas in capital markets that aren't really that well suited for remote work. And right. So I don't think we'll see a permanent shift to like everybody completely working remote. I think we'll see more tolerance for it. Some places may be fully remote, but I don't know if we'll see that entirely. But I do think that it has kind of created a little bit of a cultural shift, not just in our interactions, but also in technology and the use and adoption of new technology, which I think is really interesting for our space because, we've traditionally been a little resistant to adopting new technology as an industry, and rightly so, right? We have all these legacy systems, and they're usually not well integrated, and they've been around for decades, and sometimes they're held together with duct tape, and that's just the way we operate, right? And people have definitely been resistant to adopting some of the new technologies, and I think that a lot of people, myself included, have been forced to reconsider in order to adjust to the demands of the current environment. And I think that mindset will also continue just beyond the COVID environment. And, often we see spaces in our industry that are kind of operating in a decades old tech environment. And with blockchain and AI and a lot of the things that we now have at our disposal to kind of solve some of those legacy industry problems, I think that's going to be an amazing thing. To see how that unfolds longer term, and how, maybe we use this situation to kind of, again, solve some of those legacy problems that we've had for a long time. So I'm hopeful maybe that's kind of, more of an industry superpower that'll come out of this.
I think you're right, because I think we had to see it to realize we had the ability to be accepting of it. Because you're correct. We all, the mortgage industry has always pushed, for any type of change. We always resist it, but not this time. not this time. We all, with whether it was remote online notarization or whether it was working remotely or whatever it was, the adaptation with the appraisals and guidelines and whatever, we pretty much all say, oh, just tell us what we need to do and we'll follow it. It's okay. So I hope you're right. I think our mindsets have changed. And I think going back to what Leroy said and what you just said, I think we've all chilled a little bit. I think we're kind of like, we don't have to be so uptight and so pressured and everything. We can relax and we can all still do record volume, right? We can break every record and we can actually chill a little bit. So yeah, maybe that's all of our superpowers, right? That we've come to grips with. Look at that. Who knew that we had that? All right. Awesome. All right, Leroy. Tell me about the superpower. I'm dying to hear.
I ask my kids this, and they're like, "What are you talking about? You're super dad right now. You're totally chill." And I was like, "Oh, I'm like, gosh, thanks, guys. I'll pay you later." So,
I love. But do you see? Do you see what you just like? How special is that?
It was. I love what Corrisa said on there too. I think the current environment just allowed me to chill out. My kids call it CTFO, but it was one of those. And then this is live, so if you know me, that's
got it.
But yeah, it allowed to really assess that, hey, everyone's kind of we're really in this together, as Americans and of course the world. But the ability to shift and get clarity of something that I was totally anxiety driven before and always in a GSD type of mode. And so, having the ability to calm down and think and really focus. And I think that's kind of been the superpowers, to get clarity on what direction we need to go and how to pivot.
So if I'm hearing you essentially finally slowed down enough to listen.
Absolutely.
That's what you did. I mean, you literally allowed all the noise to stop, right? All this stuff that was running around, and it quieted enough for you to have reflection, to be able to listen, to realize what was truly important.
100%. And I'm a late bloomer on that one. Should have been listening probably, 10 years ago, but it's all good. And so having that shift and the ability to get clarity, it's literally changed my life in a lot of different areas. And so it's, it's been hard, but I think remembering being a kid and focusing on something that was with me by myself and getting clarity in what I wanted to do. And I felt like I kind of like a young kid again and back in the saddle and kind of enjoy the mortgage business back to the level of how I enjoyed, jobs before. And so it's created a new enthusiasm to what we do. I mean, how cool is it? We provide the American dream, the financing for it, right? And then we've got our stewards of the business, which show homes and sell homes and move people around the world. And so this is a pretty amazing job to have.
It's quite an honor of the difference that we make in people's lives every day. It's an honor and a privilege, and not to be taken lightly, because it's very special that we get to provide that. So you're right. And Leroy, I mean, literally, I'm touched by, I'm so happy for you that you've had that renewal. Right? There's almost like a renewal, right? You kind of, you feel like a kid again. You feel inspired and enthused about what we do. And that's very special. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. All right, Sam, what do we got? Can't wait to hear.
The last couple of days I've been trying to figure out what my superpower is.
Oh, come on, Sam. You are super everything.
I shared with Leroy the other day. People call me Super Sam sometimes. My business name is Your Resource Group, because I try to make sure that I have resources for everything that I've encountered in life or that people are needing.
I love
think
that. Tell me a little bit about that, because I get that. I see where, but do you see that is the superpower? You understand why you put that together. So tell us what that is.
So since I can remember, I've always been the one to, if someone needed something, I always found out how to get it and what they needed and where the resource was and all that stuff. So when people reach out to me, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's real estate, just life in general, I'm always somebody that they can reach out to and be like, Sam, I need this, or Sam, I need that. And that's one of the reasons why I went with that name, Your Resource Group. And one of my really good friends from the military, who I don't know if she's watching today or not, but when I put a post out on Facebook one time to create my business name, and I was like, hey, you guys, we need a name for my business. And she put what I had already considered in the message. And I was like, that's it. Like, it was God saying, hey, this is it. You know that you find the resources and the information that people are needing, make that you and just grow that brand. So that's what I've been doing. Just being a resource to people around me for pretty much anything that they need.
Well, I hate to tell you, Sam, but guess what? That's the superpower. Being the resource for other people and helping them with what they need. You just said it. There you go. It's official. Awesome. And little did I know that I have the honor of being with 3 veterans that served our country. So I've never had that opportunity to have 3 with me. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for the service that you did provide to our country. We are truly blessed. Thank you. Okay. All right. You guys were awesome. This was amazing. Now I get to hear who will join me next week. Corrisa, who do we have?
Yes, I have nominated Sadie Gurley. Sadie's an industry veteran and currently the head of diligence services at Digital Risk. Awesome. She's been around the capital market space a long time, and I think she'll have some great insights on how we've adjusted to this crisis.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear. All right, Leroy, who do we have?
We've got Jerry Oliva. He's over in California, mortgage broker over there. And I just love this guy. So I was joking earlier that we're like twins. I wanted to do Oompa Loompas with him for Halloween. We'll see if he's still up for it. But, you know, he's just an amazing human, just an amazing father. And I've known him for several years now. And so he just shares the passion from a civilian standpoint on serving veterans. And you know, I know, like, being a veteran myself, and sometimes people are thinking, hey, I can't really help, but you know, from a civilian standpoint, but man, Jerry's just gone above and beyond to help veterans out there, and it just proves a point, is that when you know something, you know, to a very high level, like the VA loan, like he does, it really shows that you don't have to just be a veteran to help a veteran, right, but you have to be knowledgeable, and you've got to be transparent, and sometimes you have to be direct. And I think that's what we crave as veterans. And so anyways, he's an amazing individual. I'm excited to hear his story, even though I know him. And I think he'll provide great value for everyone out there.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear. All right, Sam, who will we have?
So we will have Shonda Strives with She Strives Enterprise. She is doing some amazing things out here in the.
Oh, did we lose Sam?
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. I'm like, wait a minute.
So we will have Shonda Strives. Shonda She Strives. She's in the DFW Metroplex. She's been doing a lot of community projects out here, helping the homeless and helping with an organization called Find Our Missing and different things like that. But her story alone, she's adapted to a recent divorce and a lot of things over the last few years, including with COVID-19. And I think she will be a great asset to your show.
Wow, I can't wait to hear that. And I can't wait to even hear with the organizations that she's working with and how they were affected during all of this. That is a whole nother realm of things. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. This was fantastic. We truly appreciate you being here and sharing your stories. We wish you continued thriving and success. Be well, be safe, and thank you. Take care, everybody.